let's talk about S&Box or Sandbox. This game, I saw a bunch of stuff on it recently, like way more in depth from someone who has access to the test kit. It is literally just a slightly modified Source 2 engine, and it looks exactly like the map editor and stuff looks like things you can do in Roblox. It's way more higher fidelity, and it is still like not being fully done.
Yeah, it looks like best of both worlds, basically.
It looks like it is the best of just what you can get. Even the map editor looks so much better. Like, I've thought
Yeah.
about trying to learn Hammer, but God, is that
No,
awful.
I have a friend who tried and it didn't go well.
Yeah, Hammer sucks.
Yeah.
Within an hour, I learned how to make an entire map in fucking, what was it? I think it was Unreal 4 back in the day. But, like, you can't do the same shit in Hammer.
Yeah, no, Hammer, it's wild. You might as well just be building maps on a graphing calculator. It is like actually horrendous.
And that's also a reason why I don't think many people are playing roleplay things, because you have to rely on all the same shit that everyone else has made, especially with things like Hammer and the Source 1 engine.
Yeah, and that brings me into my concern about Sandbox or S&Box. I'm just gonna call it Sandbox. Is that like it has so much that it can be used for, but the problem is that the more advanced you make your system, the harder it is to use that system. And so if they can walk that tightrope of being super easily accessible and easy to develop for, and more than just the map, because the map is not the only thing that matters. Their map maker looks phenomenal and looks super easy. But like if you can't easily make custom physics, custom this, custom that, custom how the world works around you, then you're going to have the same problem that Gmod has with roleplay, which is just limited what you can do.
Now you see, this is where I think I know a bit more about you than you, because like I keep up with it occasionally whenever it shows up in my recommended or whatever. S&Box, and I should probably spell it out for people who don't know, because it's not SN. It's S fucking N sign box. Like, that's how you do it. But what it is, yeah, what the development side is, and this is why I think it'll be perfect. The world building that it has. The thing about Gmod is it is Garry's mod. It is a mod. End of the day, it is a Half-Life mod. Or what I think it was Half-Life that it was made out of originally, right? Half-Life 2?
Half-Life 2, yes.
Yeah. So the issue with that is Half-Life 2 is an FPS. It is a first-person game. There are limitations that you cannot have because of that. Is it still an amazing concept? Like, still an amazing thing? Yeah, like, look at the Steam charts for Garry's mod, and that just proves it. Like, it's a good game, end of the day. And people keep pushing the limits of what is possible in Garry's mod. And even you've shown me some of this stuff where like there's mods that add a infinite world by looping the map and like custom gravity, whatever. The difference between that and S&Box is it is built in. Like when you want to make something in Sandbox, it's not a first person limited thing. They're not making a mod. No, they're just making the Source 2 engine more viable to code in. That is to make games in. And then providing like a million different games that are all open source that you can custom edit yourself. Like everything that the Source 2 engine can do, you can do in Sandbox. That's what it is, which is so crazy as a concept of just a game. And I'm interested in seeing how it'll work in the end, because I hope to God that there is the Gmod side of things. I know that there's a dark RP scene being made, and if there's dark RP, every RP is built off of dark RP and then modified over the years. So when S&Box or Sandbox comes out in like 2 years, let's say, if it comes out in 2 years, and they're going to support it for probably decades to come. They still support Gmod and update that regularly. For the years and years to come of that game, if it gets off the ground a fraction of what Garry's mod did, and the roleplay community takes a hold of it, it is going to be crazy because the map editor is so easy to work in. So if you want to spend, if you give like a day, okay, every second Saturday, we're going to get together as a group and role play us going through this area. You can just make a map in a week, like super
Yeah.
easy from the ground up, learning how to do it just by finding an asset on the store and dragging it into your map. It's crazy how easy it is to make a map and how interactive it is. So that's where I find it's going to be really interesting to do. And I know that Facepunch is in the talks with Valve to make it so, because they want to make it monetized for everyone. They were in the talks of even making it available to post the content in the games that are made in S&Box just to the Steam store that you can just buy. And Valve is pretty open with whatever Facepunch wants to do with it, because Facepunch is known for this, right?
Yeah, yeah. I think the thing is that like I completely agree in terms of like the engine that S&Box is going to just be in literally every way better than something like Gmod. But my concern, and I'm kind of playing devil's advocate here, I do agree with you
Yeah,
and I
no,
do
that
think
is
it'll work
fair.
out. And I do really hope it does. But I am cautiously optimistic because the problem is that they have to convince their how old is Gmod now? Like almost two
However old.
decades? Like
I don't
actually
think it'll
almost two
be
decades?
too bad to
My
convince the
concern
player scene.
it's not that the players wouldn't go if they could do the same things, but the problem is that Gmod has been so ancient and it's been worked on for so long by the
Mm-hmm.
community that
There's
there's
no
so much stuff
backlog.
there. Yeah, exactly. There's such a big backlog in Gmod that you can just like kind of go on Gmod and be like, oh well, I want to do this new thing, but I'll have to like mix and match because I'm not. Let's say me personally, I can't. I'm not good at making content from scratch, but I can kind of like mix and match some stuff and tweak a little thing here, tweak a little thing there, and work things together. Let's say you want to make something that's never been made before in Gmod, you can do that with relative ease because of
Mm-hmm.
the insane variety and backlog of just shit that people have posted to the workshop. That backlog will not exist for S&Box off rip, and so that is the barrier
That
to
is the
entry.
area. That is the end. Yeah, I understand where you're coming from there, but here's my thing. I think S&Box is going to be way bigger than that. It's not going to take long for that backlog to be built. Hopefully, here's my just dream for S&Box. And I don't know how easy it's going to be, but I want to see how easy you can import things from other games and maps
Yes,
into
because they've been
S&Box.
talking a lot about that,
Because,
especially. And
like,
if they get good at that, then that problem is
it's
solved
done.
because the backlog is the entirety of video game history.
Yeah.
Um,
Like, let's be real. People are going to scam together anything they can find from ROMs and map files and whatever and throw it in. Like,
yeah,
maps aren't an issue. What is going to be interesting is I want to know how it's going to work for a bunch of other things. Because I think if it comes out the way they want it to do, even if it comes out in a way that the community hates, they're just going to redo it. Look at what they did with Rust. Like,
yeah,
Rust was
yeah,
entirely reworked from the ground up a year after it was released,
yeah.
right? I
That's
think
fair.
like some very similar things will happen to S&Box. I don't exactly know how it's going to work, but like I feel like this is the next step in the evolution of it and might be like the final step until Source 3 comes out, right? Or until some other new software comes out that makes it impossible. Like maybe because they wanted to add VR support, like native VR support to it, which is the thing I'm most excited for when I learned about
Yeah,
that.
same.
Because native VR support is a thing that doesn't really exist in the roleplay scene that much. Like,
The only thing I've seen a little bit of it in is VR chat and Rec Room of all
mhm.
things, but it's very small.
I've explored the Rec Room stuff. Rec Room is insane for it. Like the Star Wars roleplay scene on Rec Room last time I joined is like one of the biggest experiences. Like
That's really cool.
scary. And there are limits because Rec
Of
Room
course.
model limits aren't that good. And I never really talked to the community or anything about that. I'd love to, don't get me wrong, but it's just not something I had the opportunity to do. And I was playing with,
Yeah,
I think, like TK and Ember and a bunch of other people at the
yeah.
time. So I was like, look, let's join this and fuck around and run around the map. And then there was like 12 teleporters and I was like, okay, this is too much for right now. We're all a little not sober. Like, I've had a few drinks by this point. It wasn't that good. But I
Yeah.
think like Sandbox has every opportunity it needs to like be the biggest possible game. And it's like going to probably even be better for a game developer from a game dev standpoint. Like a lot of game devs working on Unity or something. The video I was watching was talking about like, yeah, a bunch of these Unity game devs might just say, fuck it, let's stop developing for Unity and start developing for Sandbox. Because Sandbox, if you can directly port it to Steam and stuff, is direct support for multiplayer. That is their main focus. And Unity only just got that in 2022 and it's still being updated. Like a bunch of multiplayer games right now, it's so hard to make multiplayer because you have to basically make it yourself
Yeah.
and like do all that yourself. Garry's mod, you don't really have to that much. It's one of the main focuses, and Sandbox is going to be the same thing. It's like so hyperly focused. And with a game with the title of Sandbox, it better be a damn good Sandbox game.
Yeah, no, and I think it will. I think I almost see Sandbox more as an engine or a tool than
Because
even
that's
something like
what
Garry's
the
Mod.
developers are making it to be.
Yeah,
That is
that's
what
what
it
their
is at the end of the
goal
day.
is. But I think that if they can get over the hurdle of onboarding their community and getting through the rough early start that is guaranteed to be there while new content is being made, because that's why something like Bone Lab suffered, which is
Yeah.
not a role play game, so I won't go too into it, but it was intended to be this big, like first like really mod
There
focused
was no
VR game,
backlog.
but there was no backlog of mods, and they didn't have enough to hold people by the scruff of their neck to make those mods,
I think
and so
Sandbox will
now,
be fine because
yeah,
they
I think it
still they
will, but
current
yeah.
even like the game's not even going to come out for another like 5 years. Let's be real. They keep saying, yeah, we're going to release it soon. We're going to release it soon. I don't even know when it's going to come out, but like there's developers making the content right now.
Yeah, and I
Like
think that's a
there's
good
a
point.
big dark RP scene
I think
being made right now.
Yeah, the thing that Bone Lab did wrong is that they not only did they not release their modding tools to people early, they
Hmm.
didn't even release them on launch, which was a
Yeah, that was the
major
issue.
mistake. Yeah.
That is the like main issue that they wanted.